In February 2022, the world watched in shock as Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Russian troops poured across the border, attacking cities across the country. The invasion marked a dramatic escalation of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, a conflict with deep historical roots. This act of aggression sent shockwaves around the world and has had a devastating impact on Ukraine. The invasion began with explosions in major Ukrainian cities, including the capital Kyiv. Russian President Vladimir Putin claimed the invasion was necessary to demilitarize and denazify Ukraine, allegations that were widely condemned as false. Ukraine, a democratic nation with a democratically elected president, mounted a fierce resistance. Ukrainian civilians showed incredible bravery, taking up arms to defend their country. They received significant military aid from Western countries, including the United States and European Union. Despite their valiant efforts, the invasion led to a humanitarian crisis with millions of Ukrainians displaced from their homes. The conflict quickly escalated into a brutal war. Russian forces bombarded Ukrainian cities with artillery and missiles, causing widespread destruction and civilian casualties. The images of the war broadcast around the world were a stark reminder of the human cost of conflict. The roots of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine run deep, dating back centuries. Both nations share roots in Slavic civilization, and the territory encompassing modern-day Ukraine has historically served as a bridge between Russia and Europe. A pivotal moment in their shared history arrived in 1991 with the collapse of the Soviet Union. Ukraine, formerly a Soviet republic, declared its independence, which Russia recognized. However, tensions persisted, particularly regarding the status of the Crimean Peninsula, a Ukrainian territory with a majority Russian population. In 2014, Russia invaded and annexed Crimea, an illegal act condemned by the international community. This annexation marked a turning point in relations between the two countries. Following the annexation of Crimea, Russia-backed separatists seized control of parts of eastern Ukraine, igniting a war in the Donbas region. This conflict in the Donbas continued for 8 years, leading up to the 2022 invasion. It resulted in the deaths of thousands of people and displaced many more. Despite international efforts to broker a ceasefire, the fighting continued, creating a volatile situation on Russia's border. The annexation of Crimea and the war in Donbas demonstrated Russia's willingness to use military force to achieve its geopolitical goals. These events also sowed the seeds of the larger conflict to come, setting the stage for the 2022 invasion. The international community reacted to Russia's invasion of Ukraine with swift condemnation. The United Nations General Assembly voted overwhelmingly to condemn the invasion and demand Russia's withdrawal. The International Criminal Court opened an investigation into potential war crimes committed in Ukraine. Western countries, led by the United States and the European Union, imposed unprecedented sanctions on Russia. These sanctions targeted Russia's economy, financial institutions, and key individuals within the Russian government. The goal was to pressure Russia to end the war and deter further aggression. Beyond sanctions, NATO allies provided Ukraine with billions of dollars worth of military aid. This aid included weapons systems, ammunition, and intelligence support. The assistance proved crucial in bolstering Ukraine's defenses and allowing them to resist the Russian invasion. The war also had significant global consequences beyond the immediate conflict. It disrupted global supply chains, leading to shortages of essential goods. The conflict also caused energy prices to spike, as Russia is a major exporter of oil and gas. As the war in Ukraine grinds on, the path to peace remains elusive. Ceasefire negotiations have been sporadic and unsuccessful. Both sides remain entrenched in their positions, with no clear end to the fighting in sight. The war has already resulted in tens of thousands of casualties on both sides. The humanitarian crisis continues to worsen, with millions of Ukrainians displaced from their homes and facing dire conditions. The destruction of infrastructure has been widespread, leaving lasting scars on Ukraine. The international community continues to grapple with how to end the conflict. Some advocate for continued military support for Ukraine, believing that Russia will only respond to force. Others call for increased diplomatic efforts, urging a negotiated settlement. Finding a lasting solution will require addressing the complex historical, political, and security concerns at the heart of the conflict. It will demand compromise from all parties involved and a commitment to a peaceful future. Until then, the people of Ukraine continue to bear the brunt of this devastating war.